Hi, this is Tracy with Watch Kansas, and today we're interviewing Diana Whittington, who is running for Kansas Senate. Diana, why don't you go ahead and tell Kansas a little bit about yourself and why you're running for Senate.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for letting me have this opportunity.
Oh, we appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Okay, so I am a Kansas farm girl and grew up on a farm. Went to Emporia State, got my teaching degree there, and have been a teacher in Kansas City, Kansas for 41 years. So, and during that time, I have 4 children and 10 grandchildren and 1 great-grandchild. So I have quite an extended family. So why am I running? Well, last February, I had the opportunity to go to the Kansas for Life banquet.
It was always fun.
Yes, and it was wonderful. You know, meeting a lot of people, and we had a wonderful guest speaker. It was Tim Tebow. I had never seen him in person before, and I was very impressed with his speech. He was very impressive, and one thing that he said that really struck a chord with me is that he talked about how saving the lives of the unborn, it's a rescue mission. He said it's not something that you can wait and do a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now. You have to do it now. A rescue mission is done now. And so that just really stuck with me. And, you know, I thought about that, and it really made an impact on me. Well, then about 2 months later, I got a phone call from a friend, and it just casually, he's like, have you ever thought about running for office? And that was kind of out of the blue, but I said yes. As a matter of fact, a friend and I just talked about that, about possibly when I retire, that I would look into running for office. And he said, why not now? And when he said that word now, it's like God just whacked me upside the head, and I realized, I felt like this is the time. Then it's the time for me to run for office. So that's why.
And I didn't realize that when we did your intro for the paint party videos, and that was the big thing. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
And we added that in with the videos, so, and I didn't even know that, so it kind of all comes together. Now, when we first met, we met through your painting parties, and during COVID, and you had done we were doing some online painting parties when we were working together, and you know, that's a lot of work to put together online painting parties. You're not making any money like you do when you do the painting parties
in person,
normally and in person. Why would you go to all that work for all these people?
Well, because I had been doing a monthly painting party at one of the local establishments, and had kind of a following of people that would come all the time, and they really enjoyed it. And they would talk about how they needed their paint time. You know, they had a stressful week, and they just really needed to relax and have some paint time. And so I thought, well, I'll just do them online, and you were kind enough to videotape too, which really made it a lot nicer. And so I find too that I would post pictures and let them choose. We'd have a little vote, a poll, and people would vote, and we'd pick one each week, and we're still doing them. But anyway, I think it's very important because a lot of people really, and for me too, you know, if things are getting really stressful and feeling like I can't cope, I find that doing art of any kind, it really kind of helps you organize your thoughts, settle your mind. It's like a type of therapy that is a win-win because it doesn't cost very much except for supplies, and it's you're creating something that you can be proud of.
Paint supplies are cheap because you can spend a little bit of time
and use them for a
build
long
up,
time, right?
And you can find canvases on sale, or you can paint on whatever papers,
on cardboard, whatever. Yes.
Mulch. Is it mulch? You even see it?
Yes, with the screen painting.
Yeah, the screen paint was painted on nothing that you expect. So yeah, that's lasted how many
years?
Years?
A long time.
Yeah. I know for me, even if I don't take time to actually paint, which I enjoy, I like to just watch paint parties. That's just relaxing.
I'm kind of bad about the old Bob Ross videos.
Yeah.
His voice was so soothing. And I even talk about, you know, we talk about happy accidents and things, some of the things that Bob Ross used to say, because it's true, you know, an accident often turns out to be a better thing, you know. You think it's an accident, but it's like, oh, I meant to do that. That turned out better than I thought. So.
Okay, now you've been teaching, you said 41 years?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And have you found that that has really made a difference in your life? What kind of what does
I'll tell you,
how
one
do
of
you
the
feel about your teaching and your students?
I have taught so many years that I am teaching the children of people that I taught, and maybe even the grandchildren of people that I taught. And so, I mean, it's really kind of crazy. I started teaching at Stony Point South Elementary as at first as a contract sub, but then as a traveling art teacher. And so I have taught in practically every grade school in KCK. Because you have to travel to different schools each year. We prepared to different schools, and so that's a wonderful experience to get to know the different schools and where they're located and things like that. And then after being there for 25 years, I had the opportunity. I was asked if I would teach at our church's private school, which is right across the street from Stony Point South. And so I was getting a little burned out at that time, and so it was the right time. So I went across the street, and I was teaching regular classroom there. I was teaching science, math, English, everything, and it was an excellent curriculum. I learned a lot. I enjoyed it. The classes were very small. It was a wonderful experience, and it was while I was there that my husband died in a car accident. And so, in looking back, I can see that I was in the right place at the right time, because I had my church family there to support me during that difficult time. And so, anyway, after being there for 5 years, I started to get a little, uneasy, ants in my pants kind of thing, where I felt like I needed to do more.
Yeah.
And so I contacted the head of the art department for KCK and found out that they, 3 of the high schools were looking for art teachers, so I applied at all 3, and I got the position at Washington, which is where I wanted to teach, because I just bought a house very close to that too, and so it worked out very well that I could teach at the school that I had wanted to. And it also was funny too, because the high school I went to many years ago, we were the Wildcats, and it was so it was nice. I feel like, in a way, even though I didn't graduate from Washington, I am now a Wildcat again.
Yeah.
Once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat. So that was a good thing. But anyway, so I have been at Washington, I think 14 years, something like that. And anyway, it's been a challenge, but it's so rewarding. And one thing that I find most rewarding is that I've had so many talented students. I've had some students that, much more talented than I. They blow me away with their talent. And so it's so fun to encourage them. I've had a few elementary students who are very successful artists who came back and visited me one day a few years ago at Washington. One of them works for Tyler Perry Studios. Yeah, and another one has his own graphics art company here in in Overland Park.
That's
and
amazing.
So anyway, they're amazing artists, and it was great talking with them. And so it's really fun when you have students, and rewarding too, especially when students come back years later. And those were students I taught in elementary school.
Yeah.
And they talked about how I was such an inspiration to them, and so I love that. And another student of mine that I had in elementary school, she went on to be an art teacher, and so then we had the opportunity to work together.
That's great.
For a while, and now she's a principal in a different district. But yeah, it's just wonderful when you see these students. They grow up, they start having their own children, their own families, and then I've taught some of those children, and it's like a circle of life. It's wonderful.
Every generation, I think, always makes comments about the generations after them. Oh my gosh, look at these. Look at what trouble we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find it the opposite? Oh my gosh, look at these. This is the amazing future we have.
We have, I think it's probably about the same.
Yeah.
You have the good, the bad, and the wonderful.
Yeah.
It's like, we have, there's always going to be a mix. And I have some kids who, I will say, I think kids deal with a lot more nowadays. And I think social media is a lot to blame for that, because before, we didn't even have, this is how old I am. We had a phone that had a ring where you go shake, right, it was a short, long, and a short.
Oh, yeah.
And
My grandparents had that still.
So it was
yeah,
a
when I
very,
was a kid.
very, you know, a very old phone. It was a party line.
Yeah.
You lift it up, and your neighbor might be talking to somebody, and so anyway, we were told never to listen in, never eavesdrop. But so anyway, where was I going with this?
About how amazing the
Yeah, the
current
kids are
generations
nowadays.
is.
And so anyway, what I find though is before we didn't have the cell phones, we didn't have anything like that, and so we would see our friends at school, but that was it. You know, we would come home, we'd do our chores, I had a wonderful childhood, and the fact that I had horses, I had dogs, I had a pet skunk, I had a pet raccoon, we had a creek we swam in, and it was a wonderful childhood. And summertime, I would go outside in the morning, and I wouldn't come back in until it was time to eat. So that's the kind of kid I was. But nowadays, our kids are so connected to their electronic devices that I truly believe some of them are addicted.
Yeah,
You know, they
that's
are
easy
just
to be.
addicted to them. And so I feel like physically it affects them, and which causes health problems because they're not getting out and they're not exercising and doing what they need to. But I think more than that is emotionally it really affects them because they never get away from all the social stuff. And I think sometimes you just need to unplug, get away, go camping, I don't know, something just to get away from it all. And so, but I feel for our students because it follows them. You know, if they do something and, you know, somebody's making fun of them or something, and then it just follows them home, and so I know it's a big concern.
Sure. Now, when you're talking about that, when you're talking about the social aspects and the school, we've got this COVID-19, and as a teacher, that has a huge impact on
Yes.
you, both professionally and personally. And when is school going to start? What's it going to look like? Should it be online? Should it be in person? Should we not bother for a while?
So, it just so happens that today Governor Kelly came out with an announcement that she is delaying an executive order to delay the opening of schools in Kansas until after Labor Day. When I was a kid, we didn't go to school till after Labor Day, so
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. However, I feel, especially with COVID, that you cannot have, it's not one size fits all, because every situation is different. I'm on a couple of social media sites with fellow teachers, and a lot of them are very, very concerned about how we're going to do this in person with the kids. But I, as an art teacher, I don't feel like I can really teach art. You know, I've
Yeah.
done the online painting classes, but
That's different.
it's different. I feel like I really have to be there in person with
Yeah.
the students to be able to teach them. But if we can't share supplies, that's a problem. So, you know, there's a lot of things that we have to work out. And so I feel that parents know their children best. I feel like they are the ones who can make the best decision on what's the best route for their child, especially during COVID. And even before COVID, you know, whether it's best to homeschool your child, whether it's best to do online school. And I think a lot of school districts are going to give that option to where you can do either online, have a blended, maybe part-time in-person,
Yeah.
part-time online, or totally in-person school experience. And so I just feel like it's up to the parents to choose what's best. They know their situation, they know their child the best. And also, I know as a parent, every child is different. So what works for one of your children may not work for the other one. One of my children was very self-disciplined, and she was not handling being in public school at all. It was just something she just could not handle. And so I I did a lot of research, purchased a curriculum. It was on the computer, and I would write the lesson plans for her, and she would do them. And my other kids wouldn't have, but she
I
did.
wouldn't have, yeah.
But, but she did, and so she got her high school diploma that way.
Yeah.
So it's just it worked for her, and that's the way that we found, you know, the best option to help her, because she was struggling. It was more of the, some people are more sensitive than
Yes.
other people. and other people are more introverted or extroverted, and so anyway, so we just had to, found the best option, and it worked.
That makes a lot of sense,
Mhm.
because like you said, the parents know the children, and
Right.
the parents should make the ultimate decisions.
That's right.
Whether the child should stay home or go back to school under all circumstances, not just
Mhm.
COVID. Okay, Diana,
Yes.
we're still on the COVID vein here. I know that it's kind of everybody's kind of ready to be over it, but there are a lot of economic issues from COVID.
Oh yeah.
And I know I've got a lot of friends with small businesses, and you and I have talked, and you've got a lot of friends with small businesses. What do you think about the economic impact of the small businesses on COVID, and what will you do once you get to Topeka?
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, I've talked to quite a few small business owners, and I know there's a lot of money available to help them. But in talking with them, very few of them have been able to take advantage of those opportunities. There's one called the PPP. It stands for Payroll Protection Program, because there have been some that when they've applied, they've been turned down or denied, or even told that the money's no longer available. And so it's been very frustrating. And a lot of times they've told me it's really frustrating because the information that they've been told, it changes constantly. And so, 1 week it's like that this will cover your payroll for 8 weeks, and then later they'll change and say, oh no, this is to cover your payroll for another, a different amount of time. And so anyway, just from the things that they have shared with me, it's been a very frustrating experience, and I know a lot of them are doing everything they can to take care of their employees and to try to stay afloat. I know one business owner has chosen to not open until there's no restrictions,
Yeah.
because she feels like she can't make ends meet with a limited number of seating,
Sure.
that's allowed. And I personally believe that it's not the governor's place to tell small businesses who can wear if they should wear a mask, or if they shouldn't, or how many people. I really believe the small business owner knows their situation, their customers best, and they know what's best to keep everyone safe, their employees, and everyone that comes to their business. So it's not the governor's position, it should be the small business owner's position in those situations.
I agree, because when it comes down to it at that point, then it's also my decision.
Exactly.
If I have comorbidities, if I have an elderly parent I'm taking care of, which I've lost both of my parents, and they both needed a lot of care from cancer, I didn't put myself in a situation where I was more likely to catch something.
Exactly, to bring it home.
Thankfully at the time when we had cubicles at work,
Mhm.
a coworker's child was sick. I wouldn't let her come in my cubicle to ask a question. She had to ask it from outside,
Right.
because I knew that I had to take care of parents.
Exactly.
I was responsible because I'm a grown up.
Mhm.
Do you think most grown ups are responsible enough to
I
make their own
do.
decisions?
I do. And being a Kansas girl too, I keep thinking about the small businesses in the little towns by where I grew up.
Yes.
I grew up on a farm and the little towns around, and I'm thinking they have these same mandates
Yeah.
put upon them where it's a totally different situation. So it's kind of like I said before, it's not one size fits all. It has to be an individual, case by case, and that's why it needs to be left up to the business owners on what they allow and what they don't allow in their businesses.
I was talking to a friend a couple days ago, and one of her comments was when she goes into her nail salon, which she had missed greatly.
Right.
And she was showing me her pretty white nails, and she says, when I went into my salon, I go in, and not only are they in masks, everyone in there is in PPEs, they're all
Right.
in N95s, because they're with so many people,
Mhm.
and they have no clue what anybody's got, and you're kind of close to
Right.
somebody when you're
Right.
doing their fingernails.
And for extended period of time.
Yeah,
too.
for an hour or so.
Right.
And she said, and they require every person to wear a mask.
Mhm.
She doesn't normally wear a mask when she goes places, but her nail salon said, if you want to come in,
Yeah.
these are my rules.
Right.
You're more than welcome to come in. You're more than welcome to stop by when all of this is over. It's whatever you want to do. And she says, I don't usually wear a mask. They said, would like you to wear a mask? I had no issues.
Right.
Because that small business owner knew that it wasn't just a quick taking your information. Our waitress came over last night. I have this thing. I don't cook. I am single. Do you know there are people who plan meals and go to the grocery store and cook every night? You've got kids. You're one of those.
I used to, not so much anymore, but I used to.
I am single. I have no children. I've got steaks in the freezer. You want to go grill a steak? Great. You want a casserole? I'm out. I have no casserole food. And so it's just, for me, this was a huge issue when we had to do this.
Right.
If a restaurant says, you want a mask? I'm happy to give the small business masks because they're protecting themselves. Last night, our waitress, she came close up to bring our food. She stayed skip the 6 feet, she stayed probably 7 or 8, 9 feet away. She had common sense. She didn't get up in our grill. She didn't get close to us.
Right.
She made personal decisions, and that was great for her. The few seconds she was with us, I will admit, not to be rude, but I'll turn my head when someone comes up. I've been everywhere. And I know we had this discussion when we first started doing the video. Would you like me to wear a mask when we're videoing?
No.
Because but we had the discussion. You know, do we want to do this? And because we're adults and we made the decisions that I know eventually a lot of us are going to catch it, and when we do,
Well,
it's the
I
same as the
actually,
flu. I'm gonna live with it if I do, or one way or another,
Right.
it is what it is, because this is my life.
yeah, I recently purchased, they haven't come yet, but I bought some shields, okay?
Yeah.
Because as a teacher, I feel it's important for my kids to see all my facial expressions, to
Yes.
see when I'm smiling at them. And to me, it's very important that they see my entire face. So I purchased them. They haven't come yet. They hook onto a hat,
Mhm.
so they look really cool, and it covers the eyes too. And see, that's another concern.
The
If
biggest
somebody
one.
sneezes, you can get it through your eyes, and
That's
so
way
that's
bigger than the mask.
I don't understand, anyway, so that's a concern. I feel like the shield's
Yes.
more protection. So, anyway, that's something that I have coming for when I go back to school, so I'm looking for those to come in the mail. Give them a try.
I'm with you 100%. And a lot of your craft stores have got the supplies you can make your own
Right.
because you're an artsy kind of gal. Okay, Diana,
Yes.
I never check my mail.
Uh-huh.
And we had to check the mail last night because I knew I had something from Amazon in it, and you all love Amazon.
Right.
And I found this Kansans for Life. Mistakes could not be higher political action committee. And on the back it says, for Kansas Senate, they're endorsing Diana Whittington.
I'm honored
You're the
by that.
only person in my district that's endorsed by Kansans for Life that's running for the Senate. Do we want to talk about that?
Sure. I will tell you, I wasn't always pro-life. When I was in college, I thought differently about that situation. But then when it was during my first marriage, I already had my first daughter, and I had been married about 3 years, I guess, and I had my first daughter, and my husband lost his job, and we went through a whole winter in a very big old house. We had a big old house in the Midtown area, that's where we lived. It was very drafty. Since my husband at the time, we ended up divorcing, but that husband at the time, he wasn't letting the gas man in to read the meter, and we ended up one day finally he did let the gas man in, and we had over $1,000 gas bill because it was such a cold, drafty house. And so I was wondering why we hadn't gotten a gas bill. It was so
Yeah.
crazy. But anyway, so the gas man came in, read the meter, and it was over $1,000. So our gas got cut off. That was before, nowadays, when the temperatures are below a certain amount, they won't turn off your gas, but then they did. And our house got down to 12 degrees. It was bitter cold. My daughter at the time was she was a little over a year old, and it just hurt my heart so much to go through. I think we were without gas about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the bitter cold temperatures were just a few days of that, but it was enough because we had no lights either.
Oh, yeah,
I would
nothing.
get up in the mornings and have to get ready by flashlight for school. I would still go to teach every day, and I would kept my daughter in several layers of sleepers, but her little cheeks would get so red, and I had to keep Vaseline on them because they would get chapped because it was so cold. And so I would take her. I had a neighbor across the street that babysat for me, and so you know, they say that when you see your child hurting, it really affects you in a way, and it really does. It's like I hated that we were going through that. We chopped up any wood furniture we had, and we had a fireplace in this house. It was one of those big old fancy old houses that needed a lot of work, but it had a working fireplace. So we chop up all the dining room furniture and anything that we could and throw it in the fireplace and burn it to try to keep the chill off. But anyway, it was right after going through that I think it was in February, I found out I was pregnant again. And quite surprised about that. Wasn't planned, wasn't expected. And I thought there was no way. My husband still didn't have a job. Things were still really tight. I was living on generic Raisin Bran. I mean, it was just, you know, everything. We were hardly eating, and it was just a really bad time. And so I thought, I cannot bring a child into this situation. And one thing I did, I worked as a teacher, but I also had a side job, and that side job was I did the Pepsi Challenge. And I don't know if you remember
Yes.
the Pepsi Challenge, but it was a wonderful job because I got to go to the home show and the boat show and the car show and all of those wonderful places and do the Pepsi Challenge for
Sure.
people, like pour them, you know, Pepsi and Coke. And so I would also, during my break, go around and fill out all the entry forms to try to win things. Well, at one of those, I won a moped, and it was wonderful. I love this little moped. I wish I had it today.
Oh, yeah,
because
great.
it would be great. But anyway, since I was in this situation where I found myself pregnant, believed that there was no way I could bring a child into this situation, and I had this moped, so I put it up for sale. I found out that it cost $200 for an abortion. That's exactly the amount of money I got for the moped. And so I had cash in hand. I had the appointment made. I was going to go to the appointment, ready to walk out the door. And my husband at the time stood in front of the door and told me, "You're not going." And for once, I'm thankful I did not. I mean, I listened to him and I did not go. He put his foot down. He said, "I'm putting my foot down." That's what he said. And he goes, "You are not leaving this house. You are not killing our child." And I think a part of me was really hoping he would say something like that, because it was, once I decided I'm not going, it was like all of a sudden I could just accept it and trust God that it was going to work out.
So it wasn't that you wanted an abortion, it was that you felt you had no other options.
I felt it was my only choice. And that's why I feel like that whole term, pro-choice, is so deceptive. Because I've talked to other women who've been in that situation, and they've said the same thing. They felt like it was their only choice. And now, looking back in hindsight, I'm so thankful that I did not go through with it. I have a beautiful, talented daughter who gave me 2 gorgeous grandsons, and it's so, and knowing now, I believe that education is so important. I believe that helping women realize that there are so many other options that we can use. And so, but anyway, that's why I am pro-life.
Understand, that
Yeah.
makes complete sense.
So-
And I think there's going to be a lot of women in Kansas that can feel a bit where you're at.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that's important too, one reason that I wanted to run is when I found out that my opponent had voted against the Value Them Both Amendment to the Constitution. And I had to learn what that was all about, but basically, what that is it's an amendment to the Constitution which will give Kansans the right to vote on the issue of abortion. And the thing is that women got the right to vote, earned the right to vote 100 years ago, and my opponent, by voting against this, has taken that right away from not only women but everyone on this very important issue.
I really don't like someone else taking my vote.
Yeah.
Women worked really hard to get that.
Yes, very much so.
And I'm kind of a little bit of a history geek. I used to do a lot of living history and such.
Mhm.
And that was a big part of the living history movement, even still today, is to teach our young people, especially our girls, how amazing and important that was.
Right.
And she wants to take it away from us.
Well, by voting no, it kept the amendment from being on the ballot for us to vote on.
I like to vote.
Yeah, I do too.
I've never missed a vote except for one when I was very, very young and I cried. So, yeah, I can't even imagine that a state representative or state senator would try to keep Kansans from making their own choices on our Constitution.
Right.
Okay, Diana, we've covered a lot of issues today.
Yes.
And I think it's been a great conversation. You've really explained to Kansas and more importantly to Wyandotte County where you stand and who Diana is. And that's important because for me personally, I like to know not only the issues but who I'm voting for as a person. And I want to explain to Kansas how easy Diana is to get hold of. I've had no problems at any point in time. You can reach her on Facebook, by email, phone calls, and she is one of the easiest to get a hold of. If she's easy to get a hold of now, she'll be easy to get a hold of when she's in Topeka. Now, if someone wants to, they're sitting there, they're watching your videos, and they think, wow, I really like what she's got to say. This is amazing. I want to work with Diana on this campaign. Oh yeah,
That over there.
my fan's going like crazy here. I want to work with Diana. How do we get a hold of Diana?
Okay, lots of ways. My Facebook page is Diana Whittington for Kansas Senate
Can you
District.
spell that for us?
Diana, D-I-A-N-A.
That's not the one. Whittington.
Whittington, W-H-I-T-T-I-N-G-T-O-N for Kansas Senate District 6. It's a long one, but because it's long, you'll find it. Okay, or you can go to my webpage, my website, which is dianaforkansas.com, and it's F-O-R, Diana for F-O-R Kansas.com. And on there is a place where if you want to donate, if you want to volunteer, if you want to help pass out literature, if you'd like to, yard signs. I need people to put yard signs, things like that, to let me know. That would be great. Or you can email me at Diana and then the number 4 kssenate@gmail.com. And that's my email. So I'd love to hear from you. I also am having a fundraiser, if I could talk about that.
Oh yeah, let's talk about your fundraiser.
Okay, it's called Diana's Pachyderm Painting Party.
Woo-hoo!
So we're painting elephants, and it's going to be at the Dot Spot on Wednesday, July 22nd, at 6:30 p.m. I do need people to sign up ahead of time, though. There is an event on my Facebook page that tells about it. And the reason why is because we're limited because of COVID, and we want to make sure we have, we're limited to 20 people. But would love to have you come if you're interested, and I'll show you how to paint an elephant. And we'll have a suggested donation. Should I say that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, suggested donation of $30. That covers all the supplies. And if you've never been to the Dot Spot, it's a wonderful place to eat and meet friends. And
if they want to get involved in your campaign, do you still have some spaces available? Or is
Oh,
your
definitely.
campaign full? Do you still need people to
Oh,
walk?
we need people to walk. Yes.
Do you need people to stuff envelopes?
I need people to put signs in their yards.
Signs in the yard?
Yes.
And if someone's got some friends and they're thinking, well, we haven't decided what we're going to do for the Senate race yet. We want more information. We want to talk. We want to know Diana. Can they have a coffee in their house and invite their friends over and do a meet and greet for you?
I would love that. That would be great. I love meeting people.
Coffee's amazing.
Yes. And I know I am a big
Yes,
coffee
same
drinker.
here.
Love coffee. But also, maybe I should say that District 6, it does wiggle a little bit, but it's basically starts with, I think, is it 102nd Street, Edwardsville? It's the line in Edwardsville where on the west side there's houses, on the right side it's industrial. And so it's basically starts there, goes up, goes to 435, goes a little bit north of I-70 there, but then it kind of zigzags back and forth above and below I-70. But so it's basically the southern half of Wyandotte County, from Edwardsville to the state line, south of I-70.
Okay, so that makes it pretty easy. Now, there's also going to be some additional fundraisers and additional meet and greets as time goes on.
Right.
And we'll be having a pancake
Yes.
pancake brunch meet and greet here.
Yes.
And you can find all that on our Facebook page. And there's going to be some other fundraisers as we go along. And so if there's at any point in time you'd like to actually reach out and meet Diana, there'll be plenty of opportunities.
I would love that.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Anything we didn't cover that you want to hit right now?
Not at this time, but
Oh,
do this again. I
yeah,
hope.
definitely. Well, thank you, Diana. We appreciate it.
Thank
And
you
this
very
is
much. I appreciate it.
Tracy and Diana Whittington for Watch Kansas. Thank you.